Hello and welcome to the 21st video that I'll be posting in my Unity platformer tutorial series. And in today's video, we will be discussing about sound or audio for our game. And we'll be adding sound effects for our game to make it more realistic and more professionally made in general. And I'm going to teach you guys a lot of features about Unity when it comes to audio. And one of them right now is called an audio mixer. So what we're going to do directly is we're going to go to our assets, right click, create a audio mixer. And we're going to name this audio mixer something like main mixer. And the purpose of an audio mixer is to hold or contain all the sounds so that all the sounds can output to the main mixer, and in the main mixer you can actually like increase the volume, lower down the volume, and it's basically gonna deal with everything for our sound. But we won't be messing anything with this. So this will be just used for our outputting sound. Now we're gonna go to our asset store again, and we're gonna download some assets so that we can create our audio sound effect for the game. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you guys to search is called footstep, snow, and grass. And all of the assets that I'll be providing and using in this video will be all free. Will all be free so that you guys can easily use this anytime. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna drag down to this one right here. So this one, footsteps, snow, and grass, and it's free. Click on import, and it's gonna download the content. You can see this a lot. Just click import. Now once you've done that, it's gonna appear in your folder here, and this will be used for our player when moving, because you want to have this grass sound effect when our player is moving in the platformer. And we're gonna add another asset, and it's gonna be called casual game sound effects pack, and it's free too. Casual game SFX pack. Not this one. This one here. As you can see, it's also free, so you guys can use it whenever you want. Click on the import here. Once it's load, click on import. It's gonna collect all of the sound here. Click on import too, and then it should download. And this asset already contains a lot of game sounds that you'll probably need. And then we go to our assets here, and as you can see, we have a new folder called casual game sound effects, and there's a lot of sound effects here, like or yeah, and there's a lot of sound effects, and I think that's all the assets we're gonna be needing for today's video. So now we're gonna go back to our scene, and we are going to create a sound for our player to control in our script. And the way we can do that is we go to our player here, go to our inspector, go to our add component, and the thing that we're gonna need is a audio source. And the reason why we need an audio source is because we need to tell the computer that we want this sound to play, and that is by using the audio source component. Okay, and then the first sound effect that I want to use is going to be the grass sound effect. And we're just gonna go to our footstep here, go to our steps single grass, and I'm gonna go to the 26. Sounds really good. So I'm just gonna go to our player, and actually you can use any of these, the one that you really like. Like, it's all up to you. But I'll be using the 26 one. Then I'll go to our player, and I'm gonna drag my audio source, my clip here, and move it to my audio source like this. Okay, and it's gonna ask us for where do we want to output this audio source, and we're just gonna click on our master here, and that is referring to our main mixer. So that's why we want to create a main mixer. And then we don't want to loop it or not, it'll play forever. And yeah, that should be it. So now we go back to our script here, go to our player controller, and it's time to program the audio source. So the thing that we'll be doing to program our audio source is we're going to create a variable, because we want to take that audio source so we can take or program it in our C# script. And the way we can do that is we're going to create an inspector variable, but it's going to be a public, because there will be more than one audio source. So we're going to go to our inspector variable, click enter, and I'm going to type in public audio. And what do we want to take? We want to take our audio source. So I'm going to type in audio source, and I'm going to name this audio source player footstep grass. Footsteps grass. I'm gonna keep it simple and make it really easy for me to know. And if we go back to our Unity program, go to our player inspector. I'm just waiting it to load. Go to our player script, and then it's gonna ask us for a audio source. So we can just drag in our audio source here to the top and put in our player footsteps grass. Now every time we call this player footstep grass, is gonna play our audio source, which is this file right here. Okay, and that is how you connect the audio source with the script. And then what we will be creating is a method. So we want to create a method here below, and a simple way to create the grass movement is by using our animator actually. But we're gonna make a method first. So we're gonna create a method called player footstep grass, and we're gonna end with a bracket so that we make sure that it's a method. Click on enter, shift, curly bracket, enter again, and this is where all the code can be executed. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this variable. So I'm just gonna drag this, click copy, control C, and then just go back down here, paste this, and then I want to play the sound. So we can just simply type in dot play, and then brackets, and then as you know, we'll always end with a semicolon. But as you can see here, it has zero reference, which means that nobody is calling it. And we can just put in our movement here, player movement here, horizontal direction like this. We can just say player step grass here like this. But then that wouldn't be as accurate, right? We want some of the frames when the person's feet is touching the ground to play the sound, and not always at all times it'll play that sound. And by doing that, just typing the code here in our player movement, it won't be as accurate. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to use our animator. So if you go back to our animator here, to our player animator, we're gonna go to our player run, double click it, open our player run animation here, and we're gonna be using add event. So if we click on this frame right here, we click on our player, we want play. As you can see, This is in play idle, but we want to go to play run. And then when we click on play here, the leg at first is touching the ground, so we're gonna add event, and we're just gonna simply select the function, which is gonna be player footstep grass. And then when we feel like the leg is touching the ground again, like here, we can click on add animation again, and then we're gonna go to our player footstep grass, and there you have it. And then we're gonna click on our play again. This is touching the ground, so I could add an event here. Then click on our player footstep grass, drag again. This leg is not. Then here you go, one more. So add another event and click on player footstep grass. Now if we click on play here, if we click on our play button right here, we should hear the sound effect. The problem that happens here is that we did not specify the animation event here. So if we go back to our Windows animation, I think I misclicked on one of the animation here. Click on our player once more, go to our player run, then make sure that all of these are specified. I think I'm specified this one, and as you can see, this one isn't selected. So I'm gonna click on our player, footstep grass, and then I'm gonna clear this error here. Click on our play again, and as you can see, if I unmute my audio here, as you can see, the sound isn't that great. I'm going to try to go back and edit our animation here. Our player, animation, animation, and actually I'm going to decide that that sound was really crowded, and I think this one isn't necessary. Now if we click on play again, let's try this once more. And as you can see, the sound wasn't that great at all. Well, the reason why that happened is we go to our player right here, go to our audio source, we can actually lower down the volume a little bit and don't play on wake. And we now have a player animation for the sound for walking. Now we have the sound audio effect for walking, although it might be not so great, but then we can actually edit that, and it's all up to your preference. But for the meantime, I think that's okay because we're gonna edit that anyway again. But now you guys can understand how we actually create our audio source connection with our script, and how we create the sound for the walking for the player. And now we can just go to our script here, and we're gonna add one more audio file. But you know what? I want you guys to do this as part of a challenge. I want you guys to select, create an audio source, and try to connect that audio source with one of our variables, one of our inspector variables. So pause the video right now and do the challenge. Okay, so if you do know how to make the audio source, good job. You're one step ahead, and you are doing good when it comes to making audio files or game sound effects. And it's actually a pretty important feature for all of you to understand. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna type in to our add component audio source. We're gonna click on our audio source here, and then we're gonna unclick the play on wake, which means that it doesn't play directly when we click play on the game. And we are going to take in the casual game sounds, and we are going to take one of their sounds. And I'm gonna take this sound here for our cherries. And then I'm just gonna drag in that sound file to our audio source here. And then make sure I select my output as the master. So I'm gonna make sure that all of our sound files are given to our main mixer. And then go to our script again and create a variable called public audio source, because we're talking about audio. And then what do I want for the name of the variable? I want to name it player cherry. Okay, and then we can just go back to our game here, go to our player script here. It's gonna ask us for another audio file, audio source. You can just drag in our new audio source, or you can, if you don't want to drag, you can simply click on this button here and it's gonna ask us which one. But then it's more better if you can just like drag this, because it can be more specific. As you can see, I'm having trouble dragging to the top. And what you can do is you can just move this down and just try to drag it up. Or you can close this, or you can close other tabs so that it's easier for you to drag in. Now, I want this audio source to play when we are actually getting our cherries. And we can make sure that we get it, or the sound will play when we get the cherries, by making sure that we type in the code in our onTrigger method here. So that if collision.compareTag cherries, we want to destroy that game object and directly play cherry, player cherry, player cherry dot play. Now it's going to play that cherry sound effect when we are colliding with our cherries, and that is what we want. Look. And yeah, we are done with our programming for all of our audio files. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the code and our inspector here. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is we created a audio source inspector variable, and that's simply by typing public audio source, name of the variable, and then you can, if you make it private, for example, the audio source to private, then you're gonna have a hard time because you gotta specify it clearly. It's much better if you make audio sources public, because you're gonna have multiple audio sources in one sprite, and you can just drag in which audio source you want to talk about. And then we created an audio source, and then we can just drag in our audio clip. Don't forget to create your own main mixer or master mixer for your game, because we want to make sure that we reroute all of our output sound to that main mixer. And then we actually did not put much programming except audio source.play, and we created this method here so that we can call it in our animation, in our animator here, so that when we go to play run animation, some of the frames can have the footstep grass sound, and this can be done by going or by creating a method and then audio source.play, and that's it. So yeah, I think that's it for me today. I've covered up everything about audio sources, and I hope you guys understand more about Unity platformer making, and I'll see you in the next video.